Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the PetYupp Podcast. I'm your host Harry, and today we are diving into the inspiring journey of someone who's reshaping the way hospitality welcomes our furry friends. We are joined by Jessica Morris, co-founder of the Canine Menu, a brilliant UK-based company that's changing the game for dog-friendly hospitality. If you have ever taken your pup to a cafe or pub and wished they could have something special too, well, Jessica's story is going to speak right to your heart. Jessica, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be on the podcast. It's such a pleasure having you here. How are you feeling?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We have been, myself and Nick, my co-founder, we've been on a couple of podcasts in the past. But yeah, it's always nice to get out there and share the story with more people.
Awesome, that's just great. Right then, let's jump right in within your story. So,
Nice.
I read it all started with a simple moment involving your dog Rudy and a forgotten treat, right?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Talk us through that day and how did it inspire the creation of the Canine Menu?
Yeah, of course. So it's probably a story that a lot of dog owners can relate to. So I actually got my first dog, Rudy, in COVID. So we'd just gone into lockdown, and she was quite a boisterous puppy. She's a Portuguese water dog, so she's a working breed. So she was like, when she was younger, constantly on the go, never wanted to sit still, always had to have something to do. And what had happened is in the UK, they'd started this, it was like a go out to help out scheme. So it was like go to your local pub, restaurant, cafe. And essentially it was like sort of benefits to doing that. There was some reduced pricing, that kind of thing. And it was all about encouraging people to go back into the hospitality space, to give those businesses a boost. Right. So at the time, Rudy she must have been maybe like 6 months old at that point. So we did a very classic British thing. We got a group of friends. We did a big dog walk in the countryside, and we ended at a pub. Now, obviously with Rudy being quite restless, I used to take a natural chew with me to give her when she was in the pub so that it'd keep her occupied and we could have a nice time, chatting and eating our food and that sort of thing. Got to the pub, got the bag open and went, oh man, I've completely forgotten to bring anything with me. Didn't have anything at all. So she's like sat under the table. She's chewing my shoes. She's jumping on me. She's barking. It was such a nightmare. So I'm like trying to feed her treats and keep her quiet. And at the time, it was a beautiful day, really sunny. I sort of looked around at the beer garden and there were tens of dogs there, like so many dogs. And obviously with COVID, lots more people bought dogs at that time. So it was a really popular time to have a young dog. Yeah. And I literally looked around at the beer garden and I turned to my friend and I said, wouldn't it be great if you could buy a dog chew at the pub? Like, that would be awesome. And then I sort of went, someone should do that. Like maybe I could do that. I'm kind of roughly, I knew a decent amount about the pet industry at the time. I knew enough about dogs. I'd worked in the hospitality industry and I had a background in entrepreneurship. So I'd started businesses before. Nothing had come to fruition, but I sort of thought, if anyone's going to do it, why don't we give it a go?
That's great. I just love that. It's just always amazing to hear how the best ideas come from everyday moments, right? So, from small hiccups to a full-blown business. Absolutely. That's amazing. So once you had the idea, what were the first steps in getting it off the ground, and how did your background in psychology and pet food world help shaping the early days?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think obviously the key part of it was finding my co-founder, Nick. So we're actually family, sort of. So he is my stepsister's husband. So he's my brother-in-law, basically. And Nick's background is in food service sales. So he's worked for several large companies going into food service distributors and selling lots of different products. So he really understood the hospitality industry.
Now,
yeah. Exactly. Like, I literally picked the phone up to him and said, look, I've got this idea. What do you think? He'd also got a dog during COVID. So he had a young dog as well. So he kind of got the problem. So that was kind of in terms of getting into the hospitality sector and understanding that was a real key moment for us. But in terms of like my background and what I really brought to the table, it's that 0 to 1, that mode from idea through to how do you actually test whether this is an idea that's got legs? Have you got product market fit? have you got a customer base? Is this actually a problem that people want to solve? Or is it a problem that you're kind of,
just
making a bigger deal out of
overthinking it,
than
right? Yeah.
really necessary?
If it's
Yeah,
really needed out there, or
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So, so in terms of like my background in psychology, I guess it's I've done a lot of customer interviewing, a lot of research, a lot of trying to be really empirical and objective about the data that's in front of you. So rather than being led with emotions, and I think a lot of people get into a situation where they're solving a problem for themselves. They're not necessarily solving a problem for the market that exists. So one example of that is, as a dog owner, like I was like really into dogs. Like I got my first dog and we were competing. We were at Crufts, we were doing agility, we were doing like everything under the sun. So I knew that I was a very extreme type of dog owner. I really love my dog. There's a whole market of people out there that aren't as clued up in terms of nutrition and what types of chews are best and that kind of thing.
Oh my God, there's just a lot when you get into it.
So
there's
much.
a lot you got to go through. I mean, you got to do your due diligence, that proper research, and, it's dogs, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's something that's getting into their body. So you got to go through, that proper research before you put something into the market, right?
Exactly. You want it to be healthy. You want it to be natural. You want it to be, you don't want to be introducing anything into the pet food world that is worse than what it already exists. And really we've gone into this trying to do better than what exists today. But it's also from a business perspective, really important not to over engineer the solution and not go for something that's super complicated or expensive or difficult to source. So finding that product market fit was kind of the key thing. But when you boil it down, we knew that people were taking their dogs to the pub. We knew that there was nothing on sale in the pub, and we knew that there was this whole supply of dog-friendly chews, long-lasting chews. It was simply, how do we best connect those things up and create a business and a brand
opportunity,
that people
right?
love.
Yeah. It's great how your journey and Nick's hospitality experience came together, right? So what was the initial reception like from pubs and cafes when you pitched your concept?
Yeah, so the tale of two halves, really. So on the one side of things, we did a lot of organic messaging on Instagram, it's kind of like the modern cold calling. I think, instead of ringing people up, you're messaging them on Instagram. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing. So we would like message people on Instagram, message pubs, cafes, that kind of thing. And quite often we would hear back, well, I already have free gravy bones. I already have free treats on the bar. Like, why? Like, I don't need your product. We already have something like that. That was one side of the story. And obviously from our perspective, we were trying to create a new category that could generate revenue. It's not just a free of charge product. It's something that you can actually sell and make money from.
Correct. And make it a sustainable business.
Yeah,
right?
So exactly. So people would be like, I don't really need that. I've got this free thing already. We would then try and explain it. And then the other half of the coin is people, once they understood it, once they really read the story we were trying to tell them, and they really understood what we were trying to achieve, they would be like, oh, I totally get it. Oh, that makes total sense. Like, I have loads of dogs in my pub every weekend, every day. Like, why wouldn't I sell something to them? So the reception was great when they understood. So it became a real question of, how do we educate people as to the problem that they can't even see is in front of them? Then once they get it, then they see our products and they go, fine.
That's true, right? You gotta
100%.
tell people, right? Sometimes they do have the problem, but they're just not aware of it, right? So you gotta educate them first.
Especially hospitality venues, when I think a lot of people forget that we are selling to business owners. We're selling to business owners who have their own supply chain problems. They have rental problems with rent going up. They have staff to manage. They have national insurance going up. Like, they're not thinking about dog treats. They're just not thinking about dog treats. So we had to make it really easy for them to go, yes, I'm going to try that and see how it goes.
That's great. All right. So let's get into the menu now. So what kind of treats and experiences does the Canine Menu bring to the table for our furry companions?
Yeah, this has evolved quite a lot actually over time. So obviously originally the spark of the idea was, what if the pub sold dog chews. That was where we started. So we started with a very sort of limited range of natural, long-lasting natural dog chews, essentially. And the products that we have in that range, we've always had 3, and the idea has always been something that's suitable for every age, size, breed of dog. So we've always had a softer option. We've always had a sort of a middle of the range option, and we've always had one that lasts a lot longer for your bigger sort of power chewers. But what's actually been in that range has evolved over time. And that's because we actually have a very limited set of requirements, like really, really tightly controlled requirements for the problem in the space that we're solving it in. So, for example, if you sit down and you're having a lovely meal in a really beautiful pub or restaurant, the last thing you want to look down at is a dog eating a chicken foot or a pig's ear or a cow's hoof. Like, you don't want to see that when you're eating your dinner.
Correct.
So we needed it to be a product that didn't too closely resemble an animal or an animal part, which is obviously quite common in the dog chew space. It needed to be low in odor, so we didn't want anything smelly. It needed to be mess free, but it also, at the same time, that then starts to lean you towards quite processed products, which we wanted to avoid. So we wanted minimal processing, super natural, but it needed to fit in this like sort of bag that was about this big. So once you start applying all of those sort of requirements, you really narrow down the supply that you can work with. But all in all, essentially, we ended up with this limited range of natural chews that suited lots of different types of dogs. And then from there, really, we've expanded out. All of our products always have some kind of functional benefit or some kind of, they address some new aspect of the market that we're in. So you'll never find us launching another chew just for the sake of another chew. Like, that's not going to happen. So instead, what we might do is, for example, we launched the grab and go treat boxes. So these are a similar concept. They're single protein, 100% natural, but they're in a little carton about this big. So if you have a coffee van, for example, that you park up at the local park, your customers are not sitting down for half an hour with their dog. They're getting a coffee and they want to take a little pack of dog treats to take with them. So that was a totally different segment. Same goes for our hampers. So we noticed that customers were buying our chews, packing them into hampers for their hotels for overnight stays. So we went, okay, that's another section of the market. Let's take that on board and repackage that. So as we've expanded, we've sort of taken on different aspects, different functions within the hospitality sector. So the idea is, over time, anywhere you take your dog, we want to be there to offer you a product that's going to help you with whatever problem you're solving with your dog in that space.
Nice. That's smart. It's so thoughtfully curated, and even better, I saw you incorporate sustainable elements like upcycle spent grains, right? That's such a smart touch. You know what I think? You're not just selling treats, but you're changing the hospitality experience with this, right? So what kind of impact have you seen since launching, both from pet parents, from your clients,
really
from the
interesting.
venues?
It's I still feel like we're quite early on this journey in a way, where we are quite a new category to market. So we are only just getting to the point where customers expect to see something for dogs when they go into a pub or a restaurant. I think we're just about sort of reaching the growth curve, the point in the growth curve where we're starting to see customers' expectations changing. But in terms of what change we think we've had on the market, certainly for pet owners, they above and beyond that expectation, they enjoy sharing that with their friends and family. So we get a lot of engagement on social media of customers who have gone into a pub, bought one of our products, taken photos with it, taken videos with it. They're sharing it with their friends. They're sharing it, with the pub owner. Quite often they'll come home, they'll go on our website, they'll order a box for themselves, which that's not what we're designed for. We're designed to sell to hospitality, but they just want to bulk up because they love the products that we sell.
Oh, you are getting direct orders as well?
Yeah, we do.
That's
I mean,
nice.
we really do zero marketing towards consumers. We're entirely B2B focused, but but customers love our products and go home and just buy them online.
But you see, that's a good sign that people are loving your
Exactly that.
product and right, then they're wanting it for their pets. So
Yeah,
I see
exactly.
that's a win-win for everyone involved. For you, the businesses or venues that, adopted your idea, and the
Yes,
pet parents as well. They're now having
exactly.
something for their pets.
Yeah, it's a bit, and for businesses especially, when you look at the amounts of revenue that we've been able to generate for our customers, it is like unbelievable when you put it into perspective.
Wow.
So in the UK, if you go into a pub, the sort of the market for bar snacks is very different to the US. So in the US, your typical bar snacks are like, it's food, it's like proper food. It's chicken wings, it's fries, it's mozzarella sticks, whatever it is. In the UK, bar snacks are much lower cost items, and they're more kind of grab and go snacks. So you have like your packets of crisps, your chips, you have like packets of nuts, you might have like little pepperami sticks, little pretzel things like that, that kind of thing. So when you go into a pub in the UK, having like packets of nuts on sale at the pub is like so synonymous with British pub culture. Like, you will not walk into a pub in the UK and not see KP nuts on sale or some other variant on sale in there.
Okay.
What's interesting is, since we launched, we looked at some data. I think it was towards the end of, it was either the beginning of this year or the end of last year, I can't remember. We looked at the sales data with one of our very early customers, the Norfolk Arms, who are based in Sheffield, sort of the Peak District area, which is a lovely rural area in Yorkshire. Mm-hmm. And we compared their sales of KP nuts with their sales of dog chews. And they sold more. So they sold about 10% more dog chews than they did nuts. And they actually made double the amount of revenue on dog chews than they did nuts because of the price point.
That's so great, because the people with dogs wanting to come again there, right? They're getting more repeat businesses, and not just that, but the dog wants to be there more. They're seeing longer stays from people as well.
Exactly that. So if your dog is happy, your customer is much more likely to have another pint, to get some more food. You're also making the incremental revenue of the chew itself. And the best thing I've heard, which tickles me every time I hear this, we actually have pubs whose they have customers and their dogs. They'll be on a dog walk. They'll walk past the pub, and the dog's like veering into the pub. The dog's like, because it knows it's going to get a snack when it goes to the pub. So it's like it's like the best marketing tactic ever. The dog's like dragging the customers into the pub now because they want to go to the pub too. So
they're just loving it, right?
Exactly.
That's lovely. That's just great. So what's your big picture vision for the Canine Menu in the next few years?
For next few years, we have really big aspirations. So I've already talked about how we want to be the brand for the dog friendly occasion in hospitality or out of home, you could call it as well. So we essentially, especially in the UK, as that's our home market, we want it to be so if you take your dog anywhere, you go out of your house and you take your dog anywhere, we want to be there with some kind of product, some kind of experience, some kind of, problem solving solution that makes your life easier to manage your dog outside of your home. So that's kind of the vision for the UK, especially focused obviously on hospitality. That's kind of the area. But beyond that, we've got really big aspirations for becoming a global brand. So we recognize that this is an opportunity across so many different markets, and across lots of different cultures as well. It's really popular in Western culture, and we're really starting to see our dogs as part of the family. But that is developing in other cultures as well. So you look at cultures across Asia. So Japan, for example, they take their dogs everywhere. It's just a different type of dog. You get many more toy breeds in Japan, and you have all the Asian fusion grooming, and how they treat their dogs is slightly differently. But we're definitely looking at Europe is a big one for us. So over the next couple of years, hoping to expand more broadly across Europe. And
Any
I
plans
am,
in North American market soon? No?
yeah. So not yet. We're not there yet, but I actually live here in DC. So we moved out here about a year ago. So the plan is to bring the Canine Menu brand over to North America and possibly Canada as well. That's pretty high on our list. Because similar culture in terms of how we treat our dogs, the UK and the US,
Yeah.
slightly different hospitality, sort of,
Yeah.
don't know what you'd call it, like the scenarios in which you take your dog in the US are slightly different to the UK. So much more drive-through opportunity, patio
I see.
opportunity,
In the US, yeah.
in the
Correct.
US. Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. So
Yes.
you don't tend to get dogs inside food service venues like restaurants and cafes. You do in some states, but yeah, it tends to be more outdoor, seasonal, that kind of stuff, that kind of dining.
Right.
Yeah.
Feels like you turned this spontaneous idea into a fast growing opportunity, which is amazing. So, what have been some of the biggest lessons along the way that you might share with the aspiring petpreneurs listening to this podcast?
Biggest lessons. This is always going to be slightly skewed by whatever difficulty we're dealing with at the time. You know, every time I get asked this question, the answer is slightly different. I think if I go right back to the beginning, the key is, as I said earlier, finding that product market fit and making sure you're actually solving a problem for the market, not just for yourself. I think I see this a lot more so in pet businesses than any other sector, because people get a dog or another variant of pet. They experience a personal problem and they try and solve that. And that, I get it. I totally get it. If you've experienced a problem, you sort of are not obliged, you're motivated to solve that. But I think the number of businesses that start in the pet sector that never quite get off the ground because they're so focused on a tiny section of the market, I think it is quite, people love their pets.
That's so true, that people tend to solve the problems that they're personally dealing with, and not realizing if it's something that's a mass problem or a global problem, right? Or is it just me facing this issue? So that's
exactly that.
That's a good point, right?
Exactly that. So I think that's key, and I think making sure you've done that market research to really get yourselves off the ground and make sure you're solving the right problem. That's super important. And then I guess with scale, the biggest difficulties we've had to face, they're probably no different to any other business in any other sector. You know, scaling your supply chain, dealing with cash flow issues, you know, finding the right customers and leveling out your marketing spend against your growth and funding your growth. It's all very fundamental business problems that you run into. It's no different. You know, you can be doing you can be selling anything, you can be growing any type of brand. I do think the fundamental core business problems stay the same. So I think you can apply that to the pet world. Yeah.
For sure. All right, Jessica, I think it's now time to end this podcast. And just before we wrap up, if you could tell for our curious listeners here, if someone wants to know whether their local pub or cafe is serving the Canine Menu, how can they find out?
Well, the best thing to do, honestly, is go in and ask.
But I think you guys do send those marketing materials, right? The banners and all that, along with the treats to the venue, or no?
Yeah. So we do a lot of outreach, and we do a lot of posting on social media as well. So quite often, if you go on our social media account, you can take a look at where our photos have been tagged and what we've been resharing. We'll often do like a stockist highlight, that kind of thing. But it's kind of it's a growing beast now, and the number of stockists that we have is far exceeding sort of our ability to keep track of all of them. So I would say if we're there, you'll know, because as soon as you go in, we're pretty distinctive. We have the branded wooden crate on the bar. So typically you walk in. I mean, honestly, this week I must have had 8 texts from different friends over the weekend of, oh, I've just seen you in this place, in this place, in this place. So we get that a lot.
That feels so good, no?
It's nice to see it in the wild. But I would recommend, if you're someone who enjoys going to the pub with your dog and you don't feel like there's something there to sort of keep them occupied, then just chat to your landlord. They're a really friendly bunch. They love their communities, and quite often they'll be able to source us. We're in loads of different distributors, so we're pretty easy to get hold of now.
Right. But I think I did give you a feature idea to put this on your website, right? You can just find out if this location is serving our menu or no. It'll be great if people can find that out that easy.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely have a look into that. You're giving me more work to do.
All right, Jessica. This has been such a heartwarming and insightful chat with you. And thank you so much for sharing your journey and all the incredible work that you are doing with the Canine Menu. I truly believe your story will inspire young minds who are dreaming of launching something meaningful. And I'm sure our lovely pet parents who might have not known that they could bring their pups along for a Sunday brunch will be delighted to learn there are places that now warmly welcome their furry companions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the PetYupp Podcast. Subscribe, share, and stay tuned for more inspiring stories from the pet world. Until next time, keep those tails wagging.